Brother, I'm going, wanna wow Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this joy cord. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm stone cold.
That was a gross sound. Oh boy. Welcome to the Slap and Meat Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, WeTooDeep. Sorry about that. To start the episode, dang. For all of y'all who are new, go ahead and like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, welcome. We appreciate you. We ask one, maybe two things of you if you're listening on audio. The first is share the word, tell people about the show. If you want notifications of the show as they're producing, so you don't have to look for them or remember them, it'll pop up on your device. Go ahead and click the follow or subscribe depending on the service you use. You know, I think follow is Apple. I think subscribe is Spotify or something like that. Maybe it's reversed. But the biggest thing I ask of you, if you're listening on audio, is to leave a review. And if you're listening on YouTube, right, go to your audio service of your choice, if not all of them, and leave us a 5-star review. Get this thing up in the ratings in terms of that algorithm for podcasts. If you're on Spotify, comments, like, subscribe. Comments and likes help the algorithm for us to boost that up, so we would highly appreciate that out of you guys as well. But enough of that. The last little note of housekeeping is a few things. First is, as always, click the link in in the description on both audio and on video YouTube. If you're buying your WWE merch, whether it's the new Pop Funks that or Funko Pops, whatever the fuck they're called. I think they got some new ones that just released. They got new shirts. Gunther has a new shirt. Dominic has a new shirt. The Golden Yeet shirt is out on that Jey Uso. If you want to get the new IC title, let me say that thing is fire, right? I didn't like when they went from white strap to black strap, but adding the blue on it, I kind of actually like, the design of this new IC title that Jay is holding. Use our affiliate link in the description. That helps support us. But there's also a new way you can help support us through another affiliate link. If you guys are planning vacations, if you have to travel for the holidays, if you need a hotel, a flight, maybe some sort of package, right? Maybe you're planning your WrestleMania getaway to Las Vegas, or maybe you're in the stage of planning for SummerSlam or any big event that you're trying to go to, right? Maybe you want to go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. I mean, if you got 10 grand to drop on tickets, fine be it with me. I would ask that you buy me one. I'd like to go to the Super Bowl. But if you're planning a big trip, right, or just want a vacation getaway, right, you can support the podcast by booking through our affiliate link with Expedia. The link's in the description, as always. You click the link, you book like normal. We get credit for the click, right? And we get a certain percentage. I'm not exactly certain off the top of my head right now. I forgot of that booking, right? So with that, again, book through Expedia. Link is in the description. And so we'll move on from there. Last thing of housekeeping, I know I've held you here, guys, with a long intro. Is these Friday shows may have a different presentation. I haven't fully committed to it. Haven't fully got there yet. But I may change the presentation of the Friday shows. It'll still be on the Slapping Meat channel and RSS feed, so for the audio, so you don't have to find a new show or a new channel or anything like that. But I think I'm going to make the Slapping Meat Wrestling podcast just the Tuesday show, and then have the WeTooDeep show on Fridays. Haven't committed to it. I'm not 100% certain if that's what I want to do. I'm thinking on it. So that there's like sort of like two distinct brands, right? It's going to be the same product, the same show, either way. So I haven't really fully committed, because I gave you the pros and the cons right there, right? Separate branding. It's a separate show. That way, you know what's said on Tuesdays. Don't get confused with what's said on right. But the con is it's the same show. There's really no reason to rebrand and do all of that for no reason, right? So I'm thinking about it. The point being said is, if you come in next Friday, actually, it's not going to be next Friday. It's going to be next Thursday. The second show, these solo shows, depend on the day that I'm off. They're going to be changing here the next few weeks. Next week is going to be on Thursday. The week after that, we're going to get like a double hit, because I'm off Wednesday in 2 weeks. So you're going to get like the Tuesday show, Tuesday night, and then a double hit like of greatness Wednesday when I record that week, right? And it's going to be a crazy week and episodes back to back, right? But outside of that, that's all the housekeeping I got for you. I've kept you here long enough for this intro. You'll probably pushed away a lot of people who are new here. If you're new, thank you. Again, we hope to keep you. Hey, wrestling content starts now, right? The first thing you all need to know about me, I'm long-winded, and I tend to expand on things far too long than they need to be. So let's go into sort of overview of what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about the hard truth about Gunther. We're going to talk about a potential John Cena 17th title run. I have to mention the AEW ratings. I just have to. It's in my nature. I tried to run away from it, but we're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about NXT this week and what I felt about this show. We're going to talk about a situation that took place on social media with an NXT superstar by the name of Dani Palmer. And then we're going to end the wrestling portion of this with a talk about Triple H. And I'll discuss that topic in a minute. And then we'll end the show with a segment that's here, periodically going to be used, our sports talk. It's a crisp day today. I woke up and the windows could be opened, and it's not hot as hell down here in the south, and it's crispy this morning, right? My favorite time of year is coming. That's winter. It's almost here, y'all. Now, for me in the south, it's not going to be here till about February, right? But for y'all up north, Wavy D up there in Connecticut, I think it snowed in Vermont yesterday, right? So Wavy D is about to get about to get, the good weather. I ain't gonna get it till like January, February, right? But I mean, it's, as I'm recording this morning, it's 48 degrees outside, y'all. That's beautiful. If we look, I know a lot of y'all love to be in like the 70s or 80s. Nah, dog. If I could have 50s and 60s year round, it would be perfect. It would be perfect. 50s, 40s, 50s, no rain, no precipitation. That'd be perfect for me, right? Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about the hard truth about the Ring General, Gunther. Now y'all know I've sat here and I spent a month, it felt like, battling the CWC on Gunther, trying to convince him Gunther's it. Let's give him time, give him a little bit of time. He just won the title. Let's give him a shot, right? And they were like, nah, man, he's boring. He's the snooze general, right? And I fought back against it. But here's the hard truth about Gunther. He's not the face of a brand. He's never going to be the face of the brand. In fact, I would say that he can't be the face of the brand, because here's the one thing Gunther misses: a gimmick. And I know you're like, Randall or WeTooDeep, you said he's the anti-gimmick. Well, you're right, but that doesn't work for the World Heavyweight Championship, or at least the way they've presented him hasn't worked for the World Heavyweight Championship. What, he's going after every old timer? That's not the way you do this. So that's not the way you do this. So how do we do this? How do you present Gunther? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to take the belt off of him. You got to, because the thing is, you can't push Gunther as champion while trying to reimagine what Gunther looks like. So the first thing is you got to take the belt off. I have a way, and that fits in with our next segment. I have a way that doesn't hurt Gunther necessarily, that still makes him look good, that he can lose. And it accomplishes two things. You got to take the belt off of him, because this anti-gimmick, I'm better than you, I can wrestle far better than anyone on the roster, works well when you're the IC champion, and they'll give you the time of day on a Monday Night Raw to wrestle. But when you're Gunther and you're World Heavyweight Champion, and Triple H appears to have the same mentality that I do, that the World Heavyweight Championship can't be defended every week. And really, you want to save that for the PLEs, which is why I was a little bit confused why Sammy versus Gunther wasn't on Bad Blood, because you could have swapped that with Damian and Finn, where Damian and Finn fought the same match on Monday Night Raw. So if there was anything I would take away from Bad Blood, it would be that I would have put Sammy and Gunther on the card and took Damian and Finn off the card. Right? And so Gunther just is not it. He doesn't have the full package of being the guy on Raw. And so I feel like what they've done with this new little Crown Jewel championship they got coming at us is they created a way for them to get through Crown Jewel without having to actually book Cody and Gunther to do anything, because now they're fighting each other. Because both of the champions right now are sort of stuck with nothing to really do in their champions. Now, it's not Cody's fault. Cody has character. Cody has a persona. He just doesn't have anyone to fight against. Gunther's problem is he just doesn't have the ability to cut promos. I don't know what it is about Gunther and promos, but he just can't do it. And if he could cut a promo, and it doesn't have to be the greatest, he doesn't have to go out here and be like The Rock, where every promo hits. He just has to come out here and do like a 5 out of 10 promo 2 or 3 times a month, and you'll convince a lot of especially the casual fans to care about your title reign. But when you can't even cut a decent promo when you're in the ring, if that, you gotta either have him stop talking, send him to promo school, have Ludwig do the talking. I don't know what you got to do to fix it, but you got to do something. trips. This isn't working. The hard truth about Gunther is that while he's, in my opinion, a top 3 in the ring worker in the business, if I was a company, right? If Slapping Meat Pro Wrestling existed, right? And don't get it twisted. If I had the money to run a indie company, right now, I could buy a ring, rent out arenas, and start paying people to come work in my promotion. That thing would be called Slapping Meat Pro Wrestling, right? And if Slapping Meat Pro Wrestling existed, and I had the budget to hire any wrestlers in the world from any company, and I had to put on a great show, and I had the budget, I was gifted a budget to put on a super show as the first show, right? One of the people I would choose, and the main event was going to be called, like who's the best in the world, like the best in the world tournament or something like that, like, right? And I would bring in guys who would right. Gunther would be a part of that because I think Gunther's one of the best in-ring workers, right? Ospreay, Dragunov's hurt now, so he can't be a part of it. But Dragunov would, in this example, would be a part of that, right? I think Gunther's one of the top 5 best in-ring workers right now. But in-ring, that's not even half the puzzle, right? That's the easiest part of your job. And when I say that, wrestlers who may get a hold of this and, you've never been in the ring, you don't know how hard. I'm not saying your job is easy, but I'm saying the easiest part of your job is to get in the ring and wrestle. But I understand that that's hard, and you guys take a beating, but calm down. I get it. The easiest part of your job, though, is to finish, is to go in the ring and do the match. You have to, the hard part is getting people to actually give a fuck. And that comes with promo ability and the ability to speak on a mic. And Gunther just doesn't have that for me. And at first, I tried to say, no. He's trying to be the old school Southern heel. And there's certain tropes that they use. I don't even think he's using those right. Right. I don't know how many more times you have to be gifted a chance to go after the USA and not use them. That's the number one trope of a foreign heel. Do it. Germany is superior. And if you don't want to use Germany, if they don't want to pull the trigger on that, Europe is superior. Talk about how Europe's better. Get a faction around them. It could be like, Americans think they're the greatest thing ever, but the rest of us around the world are we're far superior. And you can get a group of someone like Shinsuke and Dragon Lee, get him out of that damn LWO story, and then Gunther and Kaiser and Dragunov, maybe Butch. I'm sorry, he's gonna come beat my ass now. Pete Dunne, maybe right, Sheamus. You could put together like a super team of foreign characters and say, look, we're far superior. We'll challenge. Right? And I know they did that with like the League of Nations or whatever the hell they had it with Rusev and all of them. And it didn't quite work out. But that was also Vince McMahon trying to do something. I don't think he knew what he was trying to do. But I think with good storytelling, this could work. And you don't really need all those people, but I was just throwing out names you could potentially use, right? The hard truth about Gunther is this. Until he learns to speak on the mic, he can't be world champion. Because your job for about 3 weeks every month, about 75% of each month, your job isn't to wrestle. Your job is to speak. And so putting the I'm the best in the ring guy as your world heavyweight champion, you either one, got to put him in the ring, or two, he has to be able to speak, and he can't do that. So the hard truth about Gunther is he can't be world champion. He can't. So unfortunately, that's just the case. And as a Gunther fan, me saying this should mean something, because I'm highly supportive of Gunther. But I also understand that you're really holding back a world title division by having Gunther as champion, right? And I don't know where they're headed with him. It seems a little bit confusing, honestly. Personally, I would have had Sammy win on Monday. That's just me. Just because I feel going into Saudi, give Sami Zayn a title run, give the Saudis what they want with the fanfare, with them having to choose between Cody and Sammy, the hometown favorite, right? And whoever wins, it's a win-win no matter who wins. The crowd's gonna cheer, right? And you walk out of Saudi with Sami Zayn as champion. You can have him win the match. I would have him win the match and then have Braun Breaker come out and attack him. That's your feud for Survivor Series. Braun Breaker wins the championship at Survivor Series. Walks into, Saturday night main event as champion, where he defends it against somebody, right? And then you move forward. So how do we move forward with this? Well, let's move into the next segment, because I think there's a perfect way to do this. So let's move into the next segment. The next segment is, could John Cena have a 17th title run? Is that what they're setting him up for? I think it was Chris Van Fleet. Maybe. I could be wrong. That was talking about this. And said something about, Cena saying Mania was his last Mania ever, but then continuing to do bookings till the end of the year tells us that maybe there's a title run coming. I wouldn't mind a 17th title run. A lot of this is on the idea that they want to get Flair out of the record books, which is fine. I'm 100% behind the idea of getting Flair out of the record books. But because Flair being like in the record book, right, as it's sort of like the last remnant of Vince being a part of the company, right? Not saying he's the last Vince guy or that he's a Vince guy, but it's sort of like the last remnant, because the longest title reign is now Roman Reigns. The longest IC title is now Gunther, right? All of these things, they're changing a lot of these records to get Vince's influence out of the company, right? And so this is the last one you have to do. And you could easily give it to Orton and have him win the title, 3 more times and give it to Orton. But I think it has to go to Cena, right? I can make the argument if Cena went to Hollywood, found the success that he has found, and decided to never come back, that he was too good for WWE, that you could give it to Orton because, right? But Cena continues to come back. And I think Cena has a deep love for the business. And so I think for just out of respect for what Cena has done, right, in the business, he has to be the one that beats Flair's record. He's the easiest to do it. He just needs one more, and he's the record holder, right? So here's how I book this. You have Cena show up at Crown Jewel, right? Because we're getting to the point where Cena has to prepare to be back at the Royal Rumble, right? And I'm assuming he's going to be sort of split time between Raw and SmackDown. I'm assuming Netflix wants him. 100% assuming Netflix wants him on their show, especially on the debut in Los Angeles. Cena's going to be at the debut on January 6, 2025. Cena's going to be there. And I think you could walk into Netflix. I've always said Braun Breaker is what Netflix wants. But I think if you're presented the option of walking into Netflix, the Netflix era, January 6, 2025 in Los Angeles, with John Cena being the world champion on the debut episode of Netflix, I don't know how you pass on that moment. And so here's how I do this. Cena's at Crown Jewel, just getting in the press and all of that, right? Maybe hyping up his return. Cena's at Crown Jewel. You have Gunther and Cody have their match at the main event, in which Gunther, more than likely, Gunther's winning this, by the way. Because I imagine The Rock's interfering against Cody. In some way, shape, or form, or the Bloodline's going to do it. Right? Because I imagine Rock's return is going to be, I'm now the leader of this new Bloodline. Solo did this for me. I did it for The Rock. That's where I've always felt that this was going. Right? And so, and the way I feel this going is that means then Survivor Series, or probably more likely Saturday Night Main Event, you could get Cody versus Rock on the Saturday Night Main Event, where The Rock wins the Universal Championship. Right? And now you got the big baby face as champion again. Or excuse me, the big heel, Rock, the final boss of the big heel as champion again. And you go into Rumble. And you need a Rumble winner. You need someone to face The Rock. Right? And it's a risk going into the new year with Rock and Cena as champion. But let's do it. Right? My theory is this. Saturday Night Main Event, you set up 2 big title matches. You set up The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, John Cena versus Gunther. This is a big time event. They want it to be big time, right? This is big time. In both of those matches, The Rock wins, Cena wins. You go in essentially to the new year with The Rock and John Cena as your world champions. Cena at the Rumble, Rock at the... First off, this takes them out of any potential Rumble match, right, of being in the actual Royal Rumble. Cena can then start the new year saying anyone and everyone who wants to challenge me can do so. Right? And he can start doing these open challenges if he wants to. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of doing open challenges for the World Heavyweight Championship, but if you can, right? You could play up Netflix with Cena. You could play up, SmackDown with The Rock. You head into Rumble season February 1st. And and you have Roman Reigns. Honestly, this is what I'm thinking. You can do one of two things. Braun Breaker wins the Rumble, challenges Cena, or Roman Reigns wins the Rumble, and that's how we stumble upon The Rock versus Roman. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Rock versus Roman being for the belt. So, I would do it a different way. I would have Braun Breaker win and challenge John Cena. Because I feel John Cena the last Mania feud has to be putting someone over. I've always felt that Cena's going to put people over, right? And so I think they give him this run. I think he may end up beating Braun Breaker at Mania, with the payoff happening later down the year. Later, I think that could be the big feud, because I know a lot of people don't like them. But like this Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan feud that's been like a year in the making, or Drew McIntyre and CM Punk that's like a year in the making. I love these 6, 7, 8 month feuds where they're not fighting on every PLE, because that's what really makes the feuds long. Is if they have a 6 month feud and they're fighting every month, so there's 6-7 matches in the feud. That's where it feels a little bit long, right? But if you do it like you did Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, excuse me, where they had 3 matches in a year-long feud. If you did that where Braun Breaker wins WrestleMania, he comes in, he challenges Cena, and Cena beats him. And Braun Breaker doesn't like that, so you do like a feud all the way till the end of the year with Cena as champion, right? And he knows he's getting ready to retire. So the last show, he says, one last open challenge. Who wants this? And Braun Breaker accepted. This doesn't even have to be a feud, right? This could just be a callback to Mania, right? Where Cena, he beats Braun Breaker, so Braun Breaker gets pushed to the back of the line, and so Cena HPLE just starts wrestling people, right? And maybe you get an Orton match, maybe you get a Cena versus Gunther, like a rematch, something on this path. Cena gets to the very end of the year, is the last Raw of the year, and he says, "This is my last show. So if you want some, this is what I'll tell you. This will be the last of John Cena in WWE. Either way, I'm either winning this match and vacating the title, or someone can beat me for this championship." Something like that, right? And we're like November, December, get ready to end the year. And this open challenge gets answered by Braun Breaker, who then beats John Cena. Because I feel John Cena's last match, he's going out on his shoulders. I think Cena loves the business too much to go out on top. I think he's going out, I think he's pushing the mark. Now, I think there's a better person than Braun Breaker personally. I love Braun. I think Braun should be a title holder. But there's a guy in NXT named Trick Williams that I think if he came to Monday Night Raw could hold the brand down. But I also believe that CW wants Trick Williams on NXT, and I believe that NXT is going to have their roster and these things called call-ups that we're so used to. We're so used to every 3, 4, 5 months, every time we get like a random like a special debut, or like, hey, there's an open challenge, you can answer it, and we get a call-up. Or we're so used to like the post-Mania call-ups, right? I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I honestly believe that the current NXT roster is going to be the current NXT roster, and they're going to run it like it's a Monday Night Raw, where you just rotate talent around. Now, I think there's a lot of talent like Roxanne that could be pushed in or maybe drafted too, but I just don't think they're going to do a lot of changing because the CW is now built. NXT on the CW in 2 weeks has built a viewership that's used to certain people, right? And NXT in itself, even when it was on USA, it's built a roster where the fans that watch NXT week after week are used to this roster. And the thing about being an NXT fan is understanding, and being an NXT fan is like watching like college football, right? I'm only going to have them for a certain amount of time. And so I'm not, and that's why I've never really bought into the idea that people needed to be here than be caught up. Because then I feel like a lot of people don't buy into the top stars. Like if I knew Roxanne Perez when they got to the top of the business in NXT, when they got that brass ring and they had their run and then they lost the championship, and I knew they weren't going to be here long term, I feel like a lot of people may not buy into them because they know we're not going to have them here. And so I think to make NXT feel like its own thing, you have to have a roster that is their own, right? And so Roxanne, I believe, is staying. I think we got a lot of women's feuds for the top of the division with Roxanne and Stephanie, Roxanne and Julia, Roxanne and Delta, which will be there, I believe, at Halloween Havoc, Roxanne and Cora, and this we got stories to tell. And so I don't think we're seeing any of them leave anytime soon, right? And so I think Cena can have it. I think he will have a 17th title run. It may not. That's how I would book it. I would have him go into Netflix as champion. I think a lot of people assume it's going to happen after Mania, or that Cena maybe wins the Rumble and challenges Gunther and wins it at Mania, then has a I could see that happening as well. I just think to make the new year feel special, to make the debut on Netflix feel special, to make Saturday Night Main Event feel special, having Rock and Cena win the belts, that would be insane. That would be pretty crazy. You would think, right? But let's move forward with the next topic. I don't want to talk about it, but we will. AEW's ratings. So there's a couple things I feel about this. The first is I understand this was a Tuesday show, and here's my problem. Here's my problem with the excuses being used by AEW hardcore fans about why the ratings were so low. Because they have their excuses. So the first excuse was, well, baseball and hockey were on. Okay, well, NXT had to deal with baseball and hockey too. So that's a moot point. The next point, well, it was a different night. I typically would understand this and would agree with this excuse, but here's the problem. The damn show was called Title Tuesday. Are your fans that dumb that they don't understand what Title Tuesday means? That Title Tuesday on October the 8th means that Title Tuesday on October the 8th is on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday. Do you not promote on your show? Because that comes down to the actual problem. Tony Khan doesn't market his shit. Now, I wouldn't know what he does on Facebook because guess what? For some reason, I've been blocked from seeing AEW's Facebook feed. I can't see anything from him. So, Tony, if you can get that fixed, I'll help promote your show for you. But, Tony, the people who follow you on socials, they're already watching your show. You got to market to the town. You know, here in Charlotte, right? Let me just use where I live in the Charlotte metro area, right? If all WWE has to do is put up a sign or put up a banner or put up some sort of post that say they're going to be in town and put it, somewhere in Charlotte, right? They're going to be in town. Have people promote it, have radio stations promote it, something like that, right? And people will be there. Maybe people who don't even watch the show, right? It's real easy on how to promote a wrestling show. Just put up posters. Or Tony, how about this? If you want to run, an area, maybe billboards on the highway. I mean, WWE doesn't have to do billboards because they're big enough that they can pay for radio ads and stuff like that, right? But Tony, billboards on the highway, even having people just put posters up, having businesses promote you, radio stations, do some sort of marketing. Your marketing can't just be social media, Tony. It just can't be social, right? So there's one problem, but I think there's actually another problem. And it's kind of sad that I actually have to agree with this guy. His name's Dave Meltzer, but Dave Meltzer hit the nail right on that. Sometimes a broken clock is right. Sometimes a broken clock is right. And he hit the nail right on the head with his tweet about the ratings. It's clear that AEW's exclusive audience is getting smaller. Now, what has people like me, like Nerdy D, like Wavy D, and other casual fans been saying for at least the last 2 years, but I know for me, longer than that, the last like 3-4 years. What have we been saying that AEW needs to do if they want to build a sustainable viewership? You have to stop booking for the sickos. They're going to watch no matter what. You already have them. Quit trying to pander. Because in the process of pandering to the sickos, you lose the casual audience. You lose people who want to watch your product but can't find a way to like what you're putting on there, because what you're putting on there is things that only a very, very small amount of people like. And it's very clear that a lot of the wrestling fan base would prefer to watch, because it's not like wrestling fans stopped watching. I'm so tired of this, like, well, the basketball and baseball were on, or hockey and baseball were on. That didn't change anything. If you were to typically combine the ratings between NXT and a typical AEW on a typical week, the last week on USA, I think NXT had like 600, 700,000 fans, and AEW had about 600, 700,000 fans, right? So you're talking about a pool of people of about 1.2 million people, right? Now, if you add up the 800-something thousand and the 329,000 that AEW had, you get about 1.1, 1.2 million people. So wrestling fans still watch the wrestling on Tuesday. They still watch the products. People just prefer to watch NXT. Wrestling fans still watch wrestling. They just prefer to watch NXT. And what happens is NXT has a much more exclusive fan base. I also think a lot of this has to do with, like, because I don't think NXT's ratings, I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't think they stay in the 800s. I think they're going to drop next week. They were at 900 week 1 on CW, about 8 something on week 2. I think they're going to drop to the 700s. Potentially. If they could stay at 800, it'd be a win. But I think that there's probably an exclusive audience of people on Tuesday night that have always watched the show, about 500 to 600,000 people, and then you pull in some newer people. Right? If they could have kept all 800,000 plus that they had this week on the show, and they can average that, that's a win for NXT, right? But AEW's exclusive fan base of people who would if they had to, if you asked every wrestling fan if NXT or an AEW were on the same nights, who would you watch, WWE or AEW? NXT has that fan base. AEW's, the people who would choose AEW is much smaller than it was 3 years ago, and I think there's a reason for that. You're booking for the wrong people. The people you're booking for are already there. So the viewership is because you're booking for the wrong people. The lack of attendance in the arenas is because you're booking for the wrong people. At the end, a lot of, what they're going to say, next week, the story next week from AEW diehards is, well, we had a very good pay-per-view. There was a lot of people in the stands for the pay-per-view, and there was a lot of buys on the pay-per-view, and Tony Khan made money at the pay-per-view, right? And guys, that still doesn't mean anything, because people go to pay-per-views. People pay to watch pay-per-views because they're pay-per-views. That right? But your week to week, right? Your week to week product is your pay-per-views could be All Elite Wrestling, but right, for the name of the company. But your week to week, your weekly shows, bro, we might as well just start calling this company All Extinct Wrestling or Almost Extinct Wrestling. It's crazy, dude. Your week-to-week product is getting less popular every single week. Less people in the stands every year. Less people exclusively watching your show every week. And I get, right? And this is why I don't believe in the competition. Like, I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, this is the win for NXT. No, I expected this. There's a reason AEW does not go up against NXT anymore, because they're going to lose. Just because of the product NXT has. And we're about to go into a review of this, of NXT. But because of the product that NXT has built, NXT is the best thing on TV. I'm not the only one who has said that. NXT is the best wrestling product on TV today. Which is why I'm happy that it went on basically free TV. Hook up your antenna, find your local CW network, and watch NXT on Tuesdays. People are watching. This show is great, dude. It's everything right. It's everything that I want wrestling to be. Right, so let's go into NXT review, right? And I'm not going to go segment for segment. I'm just going to talk about things that I liked. So you get the opening with Trick, right? And he's the champion again. And let me tell you something. This new NXT championship for men's and women's, I like them. I like them a lot, right? For me, even though I have it the old style NXT champion, my NXT championship is actually 2 champions past, because they added some color or something to the one that was prior, right, before this new one. But I like mine, the one that I have, right? But I love the new one, because I don't know, there was something about just having like the giant X. So the first NXT title, I absolutely despised the look of it, because the leather, so like you had the NXT logo, but the X was fucking ginormous and the leather was part of it, right? So, and then the new one, so to explain why I hated it, it would be like taking the Universal title and the leather was, or like the only thing on it, it wasn't like a circle belt with the WWE logo on it. The WWE logo was just the belt. It was basically just 2 straps attached to the WWE. Imagine having that title. That would be awful, right? Well, that's what I felt about the first NXT title. It was just the NXT logo with 2 straps attached to it, and it just looked god awful. I hated that title design. The new one, the one that I have that you can't see behind me, that one I liked a little better, because it was at least a circle plate with the giant ass X NXT logo on it, but I still didn't necessarily love it, right? But this one, where it's the circle design and they just put on the normal NXT logo, everything, it sort of looks like a UFC championships are very beautiful. They're simple and beautiful, and that's all titles have to be. And that's what this looks like. This looks like a UFC title. I love it, right? It looks great on Trick. Looks good on Roxanne, right? But Trick's out there cutting a promo, and we're going to get Trick versus Wes. Yeah, we about to eat here in NXT. We about to eat. I used to not like Wesley when he was part of the Rascals. It wasn't like that feud that they just didn't really hit with me. Let me just tell you, like, I understand why they had it, and the matches were fantastic, but I'm not a big fan of the Rascals, right? I don't necessarily like the gimmick because I don't relate to it. That's part of it. I'll 100% say that there's a bias to why I don't like the gimmick, because I don't relate to it. It's the same reason I don't like Matt Riddle's gimmick when he was there, the whole bro 420 shit. Not a big fan of that because I don't relate to it, right? And if you relate to it, if you partake, that's on you. Do what you got to do, not me, right? I just don't relate to that. But I mean, the matches are fire, right? But this Wesley, this heel Wesley, right? Away from all the thing, like, because Wesley to me for the longest just felt like they took what he was in the Rascals, and they're just going to run with that, and they're going to change just his name, and the presentation wasn't really different, right? The presentation of Wesley now over the last about 6, 7, 8 months, maybe a year. He's been out for a long time. So let's say about the last year, right? This presentation of Wesley, he's really grown by himself, and I really enjoyed it. But this heel Wesley that we've had over the last couple of weeks, this is money. West versus Trick is going to cook, dog. And we get this promo, but then all of a sudden it's interrupted by Jey Uso. I don't know what they're doing here. But I'll take Jey Uso on NXT. But there are people who have been coming to NXT here recently. Like, not even just the last 2 weeks, but like the Bloodline showed up about a month ago. Like, people who I never expected to see on NXT were here. But Jey Uso's here bumping up Trick, right? We then turn into Kalani Jordan tag teaming with your women's tag team champions Bianca and Jade versus the Fatal Influence. I still don't like that name. They literally took Toxic Attraction and said, what are other words that sound like this? So, okay, toxic. So what's another word? What's a synonym of how about fatal? Okay, attraction. What's something that's similar to being an attract? How about being an influence? All right, so we're the Fatal Influence. You're Toxic Attraction 2.0. That's literally all you are. Now, you're the better version. I'm going to be straight up. JC's fire. I mean, if you added Mandy Rose to this and took out Fallon Henley, I'd be okay. But like Jasmine Nix, 1,000 times more fitting for this gimmick than Gigi Dolan was. And I love Gigi. Gigi's beautiful, right? But I just didn't feel like Gigi fit the gimmick. Because I felt like what Toxic Attraction could have been was just drop-dead gorgeous women who were sort of the chicken shit heels who had to use the numbers game. And that's what Toxic Attraction was. But Gigi just didn't fit drop-dead gorgeous because she's cute, but her gimmick was always sort of like gothy. And I don't feel like goth works for this style of gimmick. So I do like the Fatal Influence. I think it's, in terms of the gimmick and the character choices, this works better than what Toxic Attraction had, mainly Gigi Dolan. But, and JC Jane being a part of Toxic Attraction, I think can help grow this gimmick. I like it. I just think the name choice was kind of, you could have just called this Toxic Attraction. And people, because I think people understand what you're doing here. You're just remaking Toxic Attraction. Right? But you get this match, and I'm telling you something. There's a reason. I think there's a good reason that we shouldn't do. Here in the casual universe, we have on Mondays and Fridays on Nerdy D's post shows for Raw and SmackDown. We have the DJ Wavy D Baddie of the Night Award. And let me tell you something. It's a good thing we don't do this for Tuesdays. Because we can only pick 4. And DJ Wavy D could probably attest to this. It'll be hard to get the 4 on NXT, especially when you have 6 fine women in the ring in one match. Jade, Bianca, Kalani. I like how Jade and Bianca came in and said, you know what? We're going to match our gear to Kalani. They had the same colors on. That's fantastic. Now, first off, do me a favor here. Let me get a gimmick. Let me get a faction. WWE loves factions now. And Montez Ford. Let me get that as a faction, dog. You can throw Dawkins in there as well if you want to keep the Profits involved. The Profits running the tag division, Trick running the world title picture. I would move Kalani into the tag team with Jade and have Bianca be women's champion, right? But you could have a power black faction there that I think could really work. I think that'll be fantastic. I really do. Fan favorites, all baby faces, Everyone loves him, right? And you could even have the faction be on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. You could find a way to have them get gold from all three brands. Because that's the next meta level stuff that WWE needs to start doing, is having like the bloodline, but having like the bloodline have members on each of the shows. That would be pretty good, right? That would be interesting, right? Yeah, and so we move forward. I think the next big thing for me that I cared about was Tony D versus Oba Femi. And I sat here saying, you know what? So I was okay with Tony D winning. Tony D won the title. If y'all didn't watch NXT, Tony D did win the title. So the question then is where's Oba going? Because I think a lot of people assume he's getting moved up to the main roster, and that's not what they're doing. He's going after Trick. I think they've set this up. They've set this up for big babyface Trick Williams to be faced by really, really, really big heel that the crowd can get behind as well, Oba Femi. And we're going to get a match probably at Survivor Series weekend. Not sure if they're going to run a PLE for NXT that weekend, but I'm assuming they will. And we'll probably get a match between Trick and Oba to end the year with NXT. And then we're going to have Trick and Oba with, I believe, Oba winning the World Championship. Heading into Royal Rumble, then Trick Williams can enter the Royal Rumble and start doing what they did with Braun Breaker, where they negotiated contracts, or maybe he was being scouted by, right? Because I think we can then enter into a draft. And if I'm WWE, I think you do a draft post-Rumble. That's where I would do the draft, is post-Royal Rumble. When you get some of these NXT people in there, and you can have like a month or two scouting them, and then do a draft post-Rumble pre-Mania. So I think Trick, if anyone leaves NXT, I think it has to be Trick. Because you have people that can hold that company down. Right? I think Ego's leaving as well. I think Ego's whole thing was a quick run in NXT to get people to recognize who he is, and then he'll get moved up. Right? I think he moves into the Raw roster as well. So I don't know. I know I just said call-ups aren't going to happen, but I think there's going to be I think what we consider call-ups, where it's just going to be random, right? I think trades could happen. I think people could get moved via the draft, but I don't think we're just going to get Roxanne Perez has been here for 3 months, did her title reign, loses the title, and then just randomly shows up on Raw, right? I don't think we're going to have that. They're going to have storyline reasons for why someone goes somewhere, right? So I think the whole thing with Oba's going to be the next guy to hold a long NXT title run. Because there's a lot of baby faces in the making in NXT. Javon Evans being one of them, that you need a heel to be champion for them to get their comeuppance. Right? And so Tony D winning that title is great. I love it. First off, with the story they were running, how could you not see this coming, right? So, it was a bit of a surprise when it happened, but then when I sat back and actually contemplated the story, how did you not see that they were running Rocky? They booked Tony D'Angelo as Rocky. Rocky always wins, right? At the very end of a feud, Rocky always wins, right? At the end of the movie, Rocky stands with his hands up, right? So that's what Tony D had to be. And I think this is going to be a great run. I love it. And then you get Orton versus Javon Evans, which I wasn't necessarily really looking forward to. what I thought was going to happen happened, and that was Orton was going to go for an RKO off of one of these springboards, and it was going to be botched by Javon Evans. Now, I don't blame Javon Evans, and I don't blame Randy Orton, and I don't think neither. Like, there's no heat on Javon from what I've read, but it's just the style difference, right? And that's what I think you need to work on with Javon Evans is, hey, being bouncy is cool, dude, and it works, but you got to adapt your style. When you're in the ring with Randy Orton, you can't be jumping and doing all that shit, right? And I think they were trying to set up a cool little RKO reversal type thing where like a move is going to happen to Randy, but he reverses it into an RKO, and it could have worked. Javon Evans is young. I think that's what they're looking at this as, is he's young. Here's what we can take away from this, though. Randy Orton in 2009 would have stiffed this guy, yelled at him in the ring. Randy's matured a lot in the last, decade and a half. So I'll take that out of it. Great show. Very good show, right? Just like it always is. Again, consistent showing from NXT. That's what you get from NXT. So let's get to the title of this episode is why are the IWC so soft? So SAWFT soft. Sorry, I ruined that for Enzo. I'm sorry. Speaking of Enzo, let me talk about this real quick. I think I saw a post of something about Enzo said that he was the manager at the Hooters that Liv Morgan worked at, because I know they dated, but Enzo worked at Hooters too. I ain't know that. I didn't know that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I ain't know that. Damn. But anyway, so there's two situations that I want to talk about. What I think that IWC in the end are soft. This first one just recently happened. I think it was on Instagram stories. Dani Palmer, NXT trainee. She was heavily on TV with Sol Ruca prior to Dani Palmer getting hurt. Late last year, I believe, early this year. Well, she posted on her Instagram story about this hurricane and about how something seemed fishy and about how all these hurricanes. Again, we're not going to get into all that science here, right? We're not going to get into all the conspiracies. We're not going to get into politics here on a wrestling podcast. We're not going to do that. Here's why I call the reaction to this soft. You don't have to agree with somebody for them to be allowed to say what they want to say. Look, if Dani Palmer wants to believe that these hurricanes are like magically spawned in the middle of the ocean, she's wrong, but she can believe it. And I'll protect her right to believe what she wants to say all day, every day. Right? However, she's wrong. I get that. But the thing with free speech, and what makes free speech great is that you could, it's great that people can voice their opinion. What the problem is with social media is misinformation, right? And so I think the great thing about free speech is you are free to say what you want. I'm free to constructively tell you you're wrong. So Dani Palmer, you're wrong. Here's why I don't like how the IWC responds to it, because there's an account on there. It's a Sol Ruca fan page, and because I'm Sol Ruca fan, I love Sol Ruca, right? She's one of my favorites on NXT. I followed this page, and this person out. It's an Anon account. First off, I hate Anon accounts. Absolutely despise them. I understand not wanting your name out. I use the WeTooDeep gimmick, though most people know my name by now. Who talk to me, but I understand, not wanting all your business out there on the internet. 100%, especially for women. I 100% agree, understand it, 100% understand it. The problem with that, if you're going to talk shit, put your name on it, right? these little keyboard warriors that hide behind an Anon account, and they start talking shit about people, knowing that no one knows who they are. Like, come on, put your name on it. Speak it with your chest. Right? And so I don't really take a lot of what these Anon accounts, like if it's like Anon 2, if it has more than 7 numbers at the end, I ain't gonna even interact with you. If it's like JB72248917, I ain't gonna listen to you. Because you're probably you're a bot, or you're just you're either a bot or a bitch. If you're gonna have to live behind some sort of fake ass username like that, right? I understand there are, especially for women, why you would want to use Anon account. I just think if you're, the problem is a lot of wrestling fan base has gone, and I'm going to say it's gone woke, man. This is sort of like woke cancel culture ideology has infected wrestling. And you don't have to agree with what, like they're wrestling fans forget about the 20 years of entertainment they got from Kane. And the second this man becomes the Republican mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and any time, right? So there comes a certain thing that comes with a responsibility with being the mayor, right? And especially like someone like Kane, who is very loyal to the party that he's a part of. And so he posts certain things that sort of tote his party line. That's what a politician's supposed to do, right? And all these wrestling fans come, oh, I liked you better when you were, Kane. You should get out of politics. You're stupid. And a lot of people are like, oh, man, you used to be my favorite. It's a shame he turned out. Bro, he's probably been this way his whole career. Kane was a gimmick. Right? So this was my whole point back when I got canceled on TikTok. My whole point was whenever someone comes out, there's a double standard in the IWC, because if Dani Palmer would have posted a political post that said something about, she lives in Florida, right? So her concern was with these hurricanes was that the timing of them, it's crazy. The intensity of this hurricane of Milton as it was building in the ocean, right? Her concern was the intensity, she was, questioning the narrative and doing stuff like that. And basically her post basically assumed that like the government was making these storms stronger than they would have typically been. And let me just say, to her credit, there is a thing called cloud seeding that does actually happen, that where you can go up into an already developed storm and produce more rain. The problem I have with this theory, that these people, and she's not the only one, this has been pushed from, crazy right-wing public officials to just random anons on Twitter or X or random people on TikTok, right? Right. And I'm okay questioning narratives, but when facts get introduced, you have to believe the facts, right? So the fact of the matter is we can't control, first off, we can't randomly spawn hurricanes. Like, there are people who actually believe that the government's going to the middle of the ocean and, pointing lasers at the sky and creating superstorms. We can't do that. You know how much energy it takes to create a hurricane? It takes like the equivalent of like 1,000 nuclear bombs. That amount of energy. And right, for a hurricane to spawn. Like, hurricanes are, first off, it's hurricane season. So that's my number one thing, right? And I'm not trying to get into all the politics and all that shit, right? On a wrestling podcast. But I just don't like the response, because everyone's like, oh no, not Dani Palmer, or like with Nikita Lyons, I think something happened prior to her last injury where she came out either in like a Make America Great Again hat, or she did something, and now people don't like Nikita Lyons. Hulk Hogan, no one likes Hulk Hogan anyway, but anytime someone comes out in support of any conservative message, so, and again, I'm not promoting these people. I'm just using these as examples. So Drake Wirtz, who used to be a former ref in NXT, He came out basically while he was working for WWE, was seen at like school board meetings and other city council meetings, very anti-vax, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm with him on that one, or anti this COVID vaccine. Let me just say that, right? And I have actual reasons for why I don't trust it, and I think a lot of what's come out the last 5 years, again, not trying to get political, stated that if you've taken this, I'm sorry for you, but I feel like that there's no testing that it actually works. In fact, it actually doesn't work. You still get COVID. It's not a vaccine. Again, not trying to get into politics, but words mean things, right? But the whole thing with the whole thing I'm trying to get to is Dani Palmer has the right to say what she wants to say. If you don't like it, unfollow her. Don't watch her, right? Don't cheer for her. Don't respond to her. That's fine. But the IWC is so soft. They're so feelings driven that whenever someone says something that they don't agree with, they try to, and it goes farther. It goes far past just disagreement and argument. It goes into trying to get them canceled, get them fired, ruin their life. And that is not free speech. That's not protected. You don't get the right. You don't have the right to target someone because they believe differently than you, right? So I believe in free speech, even for morons, right? I believe in free speech even for people that I disagree with. I believe in free speech even if it disagrees with what I believe. Because what this is supposed to happen, what's supposed to happen when you disagree with someone is you're supposed to talk it out and right, not try right, and then you move on, right? So if you guys say something and I disagree with it, we may talk about it, but guess what? Then we're gonna move on from it. I'm not gonna try to go after you, find out where you work. And there's a reason why I personally don't put where I work, and I get very, very vague when people ask me what I do in my job. I don't tell them where I work. None of that shit. There's a reason for it, because people who have political beliefs like me tend to, whenever we espouse them online and try to use our free speech, we tend to end up being targeted and potentially fired for our political beliefs. I'll just leave it at that. Let's move on to the next thing that they're soft at. We just had a 12 out of 10 PLE, right? And we go to this press conference, and one of the questions asked of Triple H, not about the beautiful show that we just watched, the fantastic PLE that we just watched. No. Triple H, man, there's reports about you being racist and there's no black people. Blah, blah. Guys, Triple H handled this perfectly, by the way. I love his response. Don't remember every single word of it. Basically, though, what he said was, I don't see color, I see talent, which is what he's supposed to see, right? So essentially what he was saying was, when I'm booking, I'm trying to put on the best stories. And I need y'all to just take a chill pill for. I've really hesitated talking about this because as you could see, I'm probably not the most experienced in the black experience, right? And so I try to avoid this topic, not because I don't have opinions, but because I don't think some random white guy on the internet really has any opinion on this. And so, but I hate this argument. Here's why. What's Triple H supposed to do? Just hand people of African American descent storylines? Is that beneficial to his company or to anybody else? Like, my actual opinion on this is that, first off, look at the stories we have black talent in. We're about to have a banger of a feud between Kofi and Xavier. If they ever fully get to Xavier turning, which I think they're saving for the new year, so that we can have the match at Mania, right? We're about to have a banger feud between the New Day. We have Jade and Bianca, right, doing their thing. We got done forgot homeboy's name, but the Profits are getting some more TV time. And yes, I do believe the Prophet should have won that tag match. But the problem is we have people in the IWC who automatically think that you're racist if you don't write black people onto a show. Triple H has made it very clear throughout the last year and a half how he books. Mania, SummerSlam, Rumble get 7 matches or 8 matches. All the other, and I think Survivor Series will have 7 matches because it's the big 4 have 7 matches. The rest of the PLEs, well, Mania is going to have 2 nights so they're going to have 14 matches, right? And next year, SummerSlam is probably going to have about 14 matches, right? Or maybe they'll do 2 nights of 5. But you get the point, right? A PLE is going to have somewhere between 5 and 7 matches, depending on what level of PLE you are. And you're going to have to work your way onto the card. And so my question is who would you have replaced and why would you have replaced them? Who would you replace them with? How does that make more sense, right? He's using his African-American talent. It's not like they're getting 0 TV time. The PLEs, though, are for the best of the best talent, the best of the best storyline. And Triple H, when he's working, what's he doing? His job is to create stories, compelling stories. And that's what New Day is going to be when they split and the turn happens. It's going to be a compelling story that gets on a PLE. But it's developing. It belongs on Raw right now. I'd also want you to take into consideration, like, okay, let's talk about Kaden Carter. You want her on the roster on Raw or PLE? I don't think she deserves it. I don't think she's at that level. R-Truth is a comedy gimmick, and he does the best out of it. Do you want him on a PLE every week or every month? He does his best, right? When he's needed, he does it, right? I think people don't understand that if Triple H were to start pushing, if on a PLE he has to put on Montez Ford to get that quota of black stars on a card, now he's got to take away maybe Andrade. Maybe he's got to take away now Gunther. Maybe he's got to take away Damian Priest, right? And so no one's ever going to fully be happy. I just think this is a shitty thing to complain about and a shitty question to ask at a wrestling press conference. I just don't like this discussion because Triple H there's not a racist bone in this man's body, dude. Come on now. Y'all really believe this? When you're in business, right? So let me put it this way, right? If let's swap roles for a minute. Let's go to the NFL. And let's say I was not, offensive lineman size, but I was running back size, right? And I was, I was a top tier running back at Division III college, and I'm an undrafted free agent. Now, running back is a position typically run by African American. It's fine. They're fast. That's the position, right? Outside of Christian McCaffrey, do we have another white running back that I can think of, right? So let's say I go in there and I start complaining, oh, man, they don't ever play me. It must be because I'm white. No, dude, there's just better people at the position than you. Go find something you're good at. So at the moment, there's just better stories that need to be told and finished. And while Triple H is finishing those stories, he's cooking up stories like the New Day. And those will be, those are being cooked right now. Those are in the kitchen. You're going to be able to enjoy those once they're fully developed and cooked. Got to be a little bit patient with you. I just don't like this conversation. I don't like this conversation at all because it's stupid. Why are we arguing about this? Why are there people on there saying, oh, Triple H is racist? He's giving TV time to everybody, right? As much as talent as he can give TV time to, he is. But you get 5 spots on a PLE. You're going to get 1 world title, typically one female title. Well, to the men's and women's, one of those, right? You're probably going to get 1 of the mid-card titles. Maybe a feud like Damian and Finn that needs to progress. And then maybe the other mid card, maybe the other women's, right? The fifth match typically just right, but we know the formula. Name me a story, name me a character that should be on the PLE that hasn't been. I just this is stupid. It's a stupid conversation. Y'all are soft if you are crying racism here. You're soft, and I'll say it. You're soft. SAWFT. Let's end this with sports talk. I got two topics here, and then we'll head out. So the first one is, as you can see, I'm a Patriots fan, and the Patriots have announced this week that Drake Maye is starting. The rookie quarterback out of North Carolina will get the start this week against the Texans. And what I believe will be his only game of the season, because the motherfucker will be on his back and dead. We'll need a body bag. We'll need we'll need a morgue. We'll need the coroner. Drake Maye's gonna die. And so as a Patriots fan, I could say this. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Right? And for what's up with week 6? We got like 4 quarterback changes. Aiden O'Donnell for the Raiders, Spencer Rattler. I know Derek Carr's hurt, so this makes sense. But Spencer Rattler for the Saints, Drake Maye, right? This is crazy. Drake Maye is going to die. Drake Maye is going to die. He's going to be hit on every throw. Jacoby Brissett was. You think the offensive line gets better with Drake Maye back there? He's a little bit more mobile, but he's not going to be able to move. You got Will Anderson coming after him. This Texans defense is deep. Patriots about to get their ass kicked, first off. Like, if anything, I would have waited till next week when we have to go to London and take on the Jaguars. That's a little bit easier competition. I'm not worried about his confidence. I'm worried about his health. Drake Maye will be hurt this year if he has to play. And my whole reason of starting first off, I don't think we should have drafted him in the first place. I think we should have got Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, the left tackle, because our offensive line is the weakest now. However, the guy I've been complaining about was on our offensive line, Vidarian Lowe. Bro's like a 52 on Madden. Bro has had the highest PFF left tackle rating. He was one of the best left tackles last week. So dude's actually pretty good, it looks like. It's just the rest of the offensive line. And we lose my favorite player on the team, Mark Andrews. What the fuck is his name? And David Andrews. David Andrews, gone. He's our center. The center we have now, bro can't snap to save his life. And when he does get a good snap, he can't block. Bro, this Patriots offensive line it sucks. Will Anderson about to get like 4 sacks. Drake Maye's going to die. Right? And it sucks because we're wearing my favorite uniform. We're wearing the throwbacks this week. And we're going to play like throwback. Right? We're wearing the throwbacks, and it's fitting because we're going to play like them 60s and 70s Patriots this week. So, someone go find me. Someone go find an offensive lineman, though, that played like Joe Hanna. I'm sorry, not Joe Hanna. John Hanna. My apologies. John's all the same to me. Right? Someone go find me an offensive lineman, though, that plays like John Hanna. Because I need a guard that can cover Drake Maye. I need some tackles, right? We're going to be the number 1 pick this year. Don't take me a quarterback. We don't need one. Don't take Shador. Don't take the dude Carson Beck. No. Give me the best left tackle on the board. I don't care. I don't care if he's ranked 25th on the draft board. Draft me the best left tackle on the board. I think there's Will Campbell coming out of LSU, I believe. I believe that's his name, was Will Campbell out of Um, that's who I want, right? That's who I want. I don't want Travis Hunter. We already got a safety, or assuming corners, and I'm assuming that's where he plays. I mean, he's a good receiver, but the thing is Dion should have had this dude playing one way this year on the position he wants to, because the league's not going to let him play. He's not going to be able to play corner and receiver in the league. He's going to have to pick one. And I think he's a better receiver, right? And so I would love a receiver, but he's not the best. Personally, he's not the best one in the draft to me, right? Yeah, Will Campbell out of LSU. I want him. If he declares for the draft, because he is a junior, he does have one more year of eligibility. If he fully declares for the draft, I want Will Campbell. I don't want a receiver. I don't want an edge rusher. I don't want a quarterback. I want a tackle. If you're not going to get me him, give me Calvin Banks out of Texas. Give me a tackle to protect, right? Give me a tackle to protect my quarterback, because this offensive line is ass, right? So that's that. And the last thing is Robert Saleh was fired from the New York Jets, to which a lot of people are again claiming stupidity, racism. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that he was 20-36 as a head coach. It has everything to do with the fact that, and here's the thing, I can't fully blame him, because my initial reaction was, well, that's stupid. He has no one to really work with, right? This organization's trash. Team's kind of trash. Aaron can't do everything for him now. Aaron is a lot of the blame as well, because apparently the dude doesn't like to run motions on offense. He doesn't like to, move people, and wherever they line up is where they're going to run the play from. That's stupid. Aaron played bad last week. Let's just be honest. But he's 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, and probably playing in his last full-time year, like his last year in the league. And so the Jets are in some pretty fucking big trouble. But I also think there's a big thing. This proves what Colin Cowherd has said over the last at least 2 seasons that I've watched him, because I like a lot of what Colin Cowherd has to say. I think some of the things he says are stupid, but this point I do agree with. Defensive head coaches in this league won't win Super Bowls. Robert Saleh was a defensive mastermind. Defense is actually pretty good, right? But defensive coaches don't win championships in this modern era. Outside of Andy Reid, there's a reason Belichick struggled in this era. There's a reason Saleh struggled. There's a reason why the Bills can't get past Kansas City in the playoffs, because defensive head coaches do not win championships. The teams that succeed the best in this league are offensive-minded head coaches. And if you do have a defensive coach like Andy Reid, you have an offense that's really strong. There's a reason the Chiefs win, right? If the Chiefs didn't have Mahomes, I don't think they're winning championships. But they have Mahomes, and they have Pacheco, and they have Rashee Rice, and they have Travis Kelce, and they have weapons on offense. So Andy Reid is protected, right? Bill Belichick was protected because he had Tom Brady. If Tom Brady wasn't on the Patriots, or if Tom Brady didn't progress into the greatest of all time, the Patriots don't have 6 Super Bowls. Defensive coach, and also the league was a little bit different back then. Defensive coaches could have won. But in this era, Andy Reid is protected because he has Mahomes, and Mahomes isn't the greatest game manager, but he has weapons. Offensive-minded head coaches win games in this league. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Thank y'all for watching, listening to this podcast. Let me know what y'all think about the topics we discussed. Again, affiliate links to WWE Shop and Expedia are in the description. Thank y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord. That link's also in the description. Share this with your friends. Let everyone know. Help us with the algorithm on YouTube by commenting and liking the video. If you want notifications, click that notification bell on YouTube. After you subscribe and turn on all, you get notifications as soon as the episode is published. And with Spotify, Apple, all of them, whatever their system is, follow, and that'll follow, subscribe, whatever their terminology is for that individual platform. You click that button, notifications will turn on. Every time an episode is published, you will get an alert. Outside of that, my name is WeTooDeep. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend. And one final thing to all of the people who listen from the Florida area. Thoughts and prayers with you guys. From what as Milton hit landfall, I believe yesterday, and so thoughts and prayers to you guys. Hope everyone is all right. And if y'all need anything, reach out. And I may not be able to personally help, but I may be able to find someone to help you guys. Thoughts and prayers with you. And y'all have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you back here with Wavy D on the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast next Tuesday. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like, get some moment.